Yo, today I got something very exciting. A very exciting guitar that I've personally never seen in my life. I didn't even know this existed until I'd say about a week ago. A little backstory about me. I'm a mainly Fender guy. I mainly play Strat or a Tele, but I found this on my local ad and it was a very unique guitar. So I felt like I had to buy it. Obviously for a good deal though. This is a 1971, or let me check. It's either a 71 or 72. Gibson Les Paul recording model. Apparently, I did some research before buying this. Apparently this was Les Paul's favorite guitar. This was actually the guitar that he preferred to mainly play out of all the guitars that he had. So, you know, out of the Gibson Les Paul, the Gibson SG, the Gibson Les Paul Jr., the Gibson, what else is there? 335, you know, out of all the models that this dude basically made, he preferred, Les Paul preferred this guitar. And, you know, this is just, like I said, I've never seen this model before until recently, but I felt like I had to pick it up because it was a unique guitar. It was a good deal, and I always wanted to try out a Gibson, like a quality Gibson. Right off the bat, the first thing that I noticed about this guitar was this setup right here. You know, I played around with it for like 20 minutes, like 15-20 minutes, and I still don't really understand what it does. There's like a lot of weird functions. This is the volume knob. This is the decade knob, like spelled like a decade, like 10 years, decade. I have no idea what this does. And I went on some like Gibson expert forums, like enthusiast forums, and they were having like hella debates, like, oh, like this is for this purpose. But you know, nobody really knows what it's for. And I've tried it out and I'm not really sure what it does, but this knob is really hard to turn. That's the thing. I don't know if it's because it's old, but I don't think it's because it's old. I just think it's in general really hard to turn, but you gotta like crank it to truly turn it, even one dial. But there's 10 knobs or 10 dials, 0 to 10. This is the treble, which is weird. Like, you don't see, this is usually for an amp, you know, like a treble option is like usually on an amp. You don't really see it on a guitar. And then this is the bass. Yeah, the bass is also, it shouldn't be on a guitar either. It should be on an amp. So I'm assuming there's no tone. I just realized that. That's weird. Oh, this is the tone? What the heck? Wait, so this says tone, but it says 1, 2, 3. All right, I have no idea. This is just, I don't really know what it does. This is like the classic Les Paul switch, I guess, the three-way knob, or the three-way, what do you call it? I don't even know what the name is. I don't even know what you call this. But this is F and R. No idea what it does. This is also really weird. This is like a phase. It's like phase in, phase out, and it's like a high output, low output. I have no idea. But you know, when I played around with this guitar, I noticed that if I put it in low, or I think high, I'm not sure. It was one of these knobs, but it would completely cut the sound from the amp. So if I was like, you know, strumming around and the sound coming out of the amp, if I put it in one of these knobs or these switches, it would just cut the sound, kind of like a kill switch. But my first impression when getting this guitar was just the weight. Like dude, this is a pretty heavy guitar. You know, for me personally, I prefer heavier guitars. I feel like, you know, if a guitar has a certain weight to it, it just feels like, you know, it's a quality instrument, like an actual piece of wood. I mean, they're all pieces of wood, but this has a good weight to it. I say like 9 pounds. Maybe even like 9.5 or 10, but it has a good solid weight. I also really like the headstock on this. You know, this reminds me of like the classic Gibson Les Paul headstock. The inlays, the pearl inlays, they're similar to the Gibson Les Paul, but it's smaller. you know, the classic Gibson Les Pauls, and like even some Gretches, they have like those huge block pearl inlays, which I also like as well. But you know, this was an interesting way to do it as well. Yeah, these pickups, I have no idea what names of this pickup is, but I'm pretty sure these are stock. They're all stock except for the bridge, but the last owner gave me the original bridge. But these pickups, I have no idea what the names are, but it sounds good. Like I can't really describe the tone, but it doesn't sound like a Les Paul. Like, I don't personally own a Les Paul, but I played, you know, a handful of them at like guitar stores and whatnot. But it doesn't sound like a Les Paul, but I'm not saying that in a bad way. It just sounds different. It just sounds completely different in a good way. It almost, sometimes, like with some configurations, it kind of sounded like a Fender, like a Telly almost. There was like some twang to it. You know, condition wise, I'd say I give this like a, considering it's like a 71, so it's like what, like almost 50 years old. Is that 50 years old? It's like over 45 years old. I'd say it's in pretty good condition. I'd say like a 7 out of 10. There's like some minor surface scratches or cracks, but they don't go through the wood. It's just like those surface scratches or cracks on the gloss. But I mean, I feel like a guitar this old should be like this, because, you know, 40 years of playing. I'm assuming it's been gigged, because I bought it off a musician. But you know, there's some things in wear, but you know, I feel like it gives it character. It gives it a lot of just vintage qualities, like a vintage. It just feels like a fucking guitar that's been played for hours on stage and like in a clubhouse or whatever. The back of the neck, I really like this neck actually. I have big hands, and I usually prefer like the fatter necks, like for a Telly or a Strat, like, you know, this kind of like 50s neck where it's like a little bit chunkier, and this is the same. It's pretty chunky, but not too big. I think it's a good balance for my hands personally. Yeah, dude. The third string, the G string, is hella hard to bend, because I think he put the same gauge strings as the fourth string, the D string, because I think he ran out of strings, so he just put on the same gauge, but it's pretty hard to bend. But it sounds good. The back of the neck, it has some wear. At first, when he sent me the photos of this, I was kind of concerned because it looked pretty bad, but when I got it in person and I checked it out, I realized, like, dude, yo, this guitar is like fucking good quality, dude. Like, even though there's wear on the back of the neck on the wood, it's still like fucking solid. Like, I don't really know how a guitar is constructed, but I can tell that they put several layers of wood on this, like the very outer layer, and then, you know, once that gets worn down, there's like another layer of wood inside, and that's the part you can see here. And I'm assuming like when this wears out, there's like another part, you know. I don't really know, but dude, like overall, this is a hella fucking good quality guitar. I really like the natural wood, those wood tones. The tuners are Grover tuners. Yeah, it stays in tune hella well actually. I mean, yeah, it's a very interesting guitar. I don't know why Les Paul would prefer this guitar. Maybe because this dude, you know, was all about like the technical shit for his guitars, I guess. Like, if you see Les Paul's live videos, dude, he doesn't play normally, dude. He always has some like weird like devices that he invented. Like, one of the videos I seen, he was playing his Les Paul, I forget which model, but it had like a built-in looper, and it was like a box looking thing, and he was like showing the interviewer or whatever. He's like, oh, this is how it works, and you know, he was basically making like a full band, but just by himself. So I'm assuming he's really into like like these just like these weird like functionalities within the guitar. For me personally, I just like it simple, like a telly or a Strat, you know, just like 3 knobs, 2 knobs, that's it, you know. But I guess if you're an inventor and if you're a creator of a guitar brand as big as Gibson, I'm assuming that, you know, they think a little bit differently than us, those who just buy it and play it. But yeah, very weird guitar. Vintage 71 or 72 Gibson Les Paul recording. Yeah, man, this is a fucking weird guitar, but it's pretty cool. It's like pretty unique. I like it.